we're ready.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to a regular meeting of Hamilton City Council for January 14th, 2026. A little after 6 o'clock, we're here in the City Council Chambers, 345 High Street, of course, in Hamilton. Roll call, please.
Moeller.
Present.
Smallwood.
Present.
Fear.
Present.
Vaughn.
Present.
Pullman.
Present.
Nab.
Present.
Lauer.
Present.
We have a quorum.
We're going to start off with an offering of prayer by Councilmember Susan Vaughn, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you are able.
Father, as we begin this new year and gather to serve our community, we pause with gratitude for the trust placed in us. Grant this council wisdom and decision-making, clarity in times of complexity, and humility in leadership. May our discussions be guided by truth, respect, and a genuine desire to serve the common good. And may those who serve and protect our community return home safely each day. And may every person in our city feel secure, supported, and valued. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Patrick Wilderman, who is pictured on the screen, was a Hamilton firefighter who gave all on December 28th, 2015. He gave all to rescue residents that he believed were inside a house fire, a home that was burning on the east side of Hamilton. We're going to have a moment of silence, but please keep he and his family in your prayers because he gave all. He passed away in the line of duty. Moment of silence for Patrick Wilderman. Thank you. We're going to have special presentations at this time, and we've got one, Southwest Ohio Air Quality Agency, and they're going to be presenting this time. If you introduce yourself to the crowd and give your presentation, then please.
Hi, my name is Carrie Caslin. I'm the Assistant Director at Hamilton County Environmental Services, and I also brought James Nimberg. He's an area supervisor for our office. In our office, we have Southwest Ohio Air Quality Agency, and that agency covers 5 counties in Southwest Ohio for air pollution services. So we work for Ohio EPA contractually. We do permit reviews, inspections, and complaint investigations. And what I'm going to talk about today is concerning complaints that we've received in the city of Hamilton and also Fairfield. I'm going to first give an overview of the complaints we've received. The initial complaints we received started in February of 2024, and those complaints that were coming in involved particulate fallout on homes and vehicles. And at that time, we identified the primary source of the particulate fallout as US ALCO. The complaints are still ongoing, and our office continues to respond to those. The nature of our concerns that we've heard from the community is that the particulate fallout that lands on vehicles and homes is very difficult to remove, and some complainants have claimed property damage. They also report that after trying to clean cars, the particulate does reappear, and or if a new car comes onto the street, for example, they say that there's new deposition that occurs if a new car is brought onto the street. We've also heard concerns about potential health impacts and environmental impacts of other media like water concerns that we have passed along to Ohio EPA. We have also had meetings and heard from the City of Hamilton and also with our office and attended other community meetings. We have done a number of investigations, one of which include community monitoring. We did set up a specific study to monitor if the particulate fallout was continuing to occur. You can see in that photo, that's the monitoring that we set up at one of the residence locations. And we did a 5-week study and checked weekly for accumulation, and then eventually took a sample to the Hamilton Crime Lab for analysis. Talk a little bit about US Alco. They are a manufacturer of aluminum-based products used by municipal water treatment plants, and also the aluminum products go into consumer products like deodorant that is one of their customers. They are located in Fairfield. They operate as a synthetic minor air emission source, so two of their emission sources are considered exempt or de minimis, where they don't need a permit, and then there's 2 pieces of equipment that have an air permit with Ohio EPA that has terms and conditions of how they need to operate to stay in compliance with state rules. You can see some of the raw materials include aluminum ingots, alumina, aluminum chloride, and the emissions that come from the facility either come out of a stack or they're fugitive. Essentially, anything that doesn't come out of a stack is considered fugitive. A roadway or a storage pile, dust that you see blowing from a source like that are considered fugitive sources of air pollution. There's been a number of different testing and findings that we've seen. They were required to do a stack test, and they failed a stack test that was required for 98% control efficiency. In 2025, they made changes to the control device for that process, and they did pass that stack test at 99.9% efficient. The particulate samples that were taken have identified aluminum and silicon components, and I can talk a little bit more about that later. They also did voluntary testing on one of the processes at their facility to determine if there were emissions coming out of a stack that was considered de minimis or exempt from air permitting. We also have noted fugitive dust observed from storage piles and roadways that we've talked to the company about. The regulatory actions that our agency has taken is we've issued notices of violation for late and failed stack testing. We have issued a warning letter for particulate fallout. That both of those actions required compliance plans and corrective actions to address the issues of concern. We have oversight from Ohio EPA on these issues, and they have, we work in their behalf here in Southwest Ohio, but they are the regulatory authority with the oversight in this case. The recent complaint activity, we did have a community meeting that James and I were invited to that we attended, and following that community meeting, we did receive a lot of complaints. Those reports from that incident include dust, oil-like residue, and we did receive more health concerns. Samples that we did take over time, both from the 5-week study that James did and also other samples that we took in the neighborhood, those samples of most recent have come back as biological matter and silicon. And silicon is, from the 5-week study, that's what the sample results showed a majority of the particles were, and that is not indicative of industrial emissions that would come from US Alco. The facility improvements that they have made for the failed stack test, they have improved the scrubber functioning. There is a control device on one of their processes, and their permit requires them to do stack testing and operate a scrubber. I think it's a Venturi scrubber, on that process. So they have improved scrubber functioning, and that was proven during the retest that it is operating at 99.9% efficiency. They have also reduced the outdoor alumina storage. In that picture, you see the white material is alumina. They have built that enclosure, which is brand new as a result of the complaints. And that enclosure was actually finished on 12/22 of last year. So that was just completed. That was a big capital improvement project that the company undertook to address the complaints that were coming from the community. And they did other process testing on their ACH process, which was trying to determine if there are emissions coming from those 5 stacks. And that testing, James and other staff at the office are currently reviewing all the additional testing to see if there's anything else that our office needs to do to follow up with those stack tests. The current next steps, US Alco is currently in compliance for the tested units. There's additional test results under review, like I said. In January, we did receive some complaints in late 2025, and in January, we started a multi-month study at 3 locations to assess any further fallout. And I believe, and James can correct me, I think there's one in the neighborhood close to US Alco, one downwind of US Alco, sampling sites I'm talking about, and then one farther away as kind of a control. So we are going to have those sample sites there for at least 3 months to study if there is still any fallout occurring. And then after that study, we will analyze samples and then give the community further updates on our results. If there are complaints, the way to communicate with our office is you can register a complaint online, and there's the link on the slide. But if you search Southwest Ohio Air and go under complaints, you can find an online form, or you can call our main line at the office at 513-946-7777, and you can leave a message, and we will respond to all citizen complaints through those 2 mechanisms. And that's all I had. Do you guys have questions that I can answer?
I believe we're going to have some questions and
Okay.
some comments, but can you leave that up there with
Yes.
the phone number and the contact information? Just leave it up there if you would.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Manager, did you make those comments first?
Sure. I just want to make a couple comments. One, I want to thank Fairfield City Manager Scott Timmer for being here tonight. I reached out. He and I have spoke about this issue in the past. Obviously, this company, US Alco, is in the city of Fairfield, and most of the affected parties here are in Hamilton. So I appreciate Fairfield's commitment to working with us to do anything they can on their end to support this investigation. I also want to thank you, Carrie, for coming up and providing this input and feedback, not just tonight, but on several other occasions. I know one question that I've heard repeatedly from residents is, if they believe that they've had damage to their property, either their home, their car, some other piece of personal property, is there a process for them to make a claim, either to your agency, or what is the process for them to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I have worked on air quality complaints for close to 30 years, and most of the things that I've seen residents do is contact their own insurance company to file a claim if they feel like they have damage to their car or their property. I've also seen instances where they work with legal counsel to address the issue, and they have contacted local companies to ask them to repair vehicles or offer car wash coupons. I can't recommend anything in particular, but the state of Ohio does not have a mechanism to file complaints for individual residents. But we do, I mean, we are working to address all the complaints and make sure that everything that can be done is being done to limit the amount of fugitive and stack emissions that are affecting the neighborhood.
Mr. Mayor, I know there's many residents that are here tonight that,
Yes.
that are very interested in more information, and they may have some questions, and I think it'd be appropriate now for audience citizens, for them to have the chance to ask some questions. I'm sure you don't mind sticking around to
Oh, no.
field some of those and even
Yeah.
have some conversations maybe offline in the lobby as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
We're
you so
happy
much. Thank you.
Stay there for any other comments or questions that council might have. When you say that, for the record, council does have the entire slide.
Yeah, okay.
When it says results shared with residents and city staff, how were the results shared with the residents? Was it the ones who were on the list at that city meeting, or that little meeting we had in Winterwald, or was it given the protocol to send out to people? How was that shared with the residents?
Yeah, so when you submit a complaint, people will give you a phone number and email, and most people would give us their email. So I would email out the results. Anybody who didn't give me one, I would give them a call and inform them of the results from the samples.
If there is somebody here who wants to be known as someone who had experienced an issue with this, can you hang around to make sure you get their number, their email address, and the like?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then stay around for the audience of citizens so you can hear what they have to say. Anyone on council wish to make any kind of comments or have a question?
Yes, I really want to thank Tim Knapp because he's been constant for the citizens. I've reached out a couple times, but I know Tim's been on this pretty
He's going to
heavy.
make a statement here shortly, too.
So I guess my question is, I didn't hear anything about the pollutants and how they affected the health of our citizens, and you having the expertise for over 30 years. I was wondering, the pollutants that have been given off, what are some of the effects the possible effects that citizens may experience?
Yeah. When a company in Ohio has to evaluate their emissions, then there are state and federal rules that are written to be protective of public health. So we don't have specific air monitoring data in this neighborhood, but we do have ambient air quality monitors that look for the pollutants that have health-based standards in Ohio. So it's a combination of, we monitor for criteria air pollutants to see if we're in compliance with health-based standards in Ohio, along with permits are written to protect public health by having rules and regulations that are going to keep us from having any health effects. I guess the pollutants of concern in this case are mainly particulate, right? Yeah. Particulate would be, and there are health-based standards for particulate matter 2.5, and we have on our website also places you can go and see what particulate levels are in Southwest Ohio. Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Vaughn?
So does your air quality agency only respond to complaints, or do you monitor situations like this on a regular basis? Does it take a complaint to get people involved?
A company like US Alco are considered a synthetic minor facility, so they are on a regular inspection schedule. Definitely a company will get inspected more often if we are receiving complaints, but they are on a regular inspection schedule, so those are committed to Ohio EPA and US EPA on a regular basis. There's also stack tests that occur, and James and I were there when they did the stack test at the company, so we're watching that work being done. There's also permit applications, and we are looking at calculations the company submits, and we review those calculations with the regulations and write permits and send them to Ohio EPA for issuance. So there's a number of different ways that compliance is determined. But definitely complaints from the community, we prioritize and spend a lot more resources on, probably most of our resources are complaints in Butler County, to be honest, and we spend a lot of our time here.
Thank you. It just seems like waiting till someone's property is damaged or their health is a response, it's too late.
Yeah.
At that point. Do we know if prior to 24 there were some tests done that show fault of any kind?
Do you know if there were any stack tests done prior to 2024 or complaints?
The most recent complaint we received was late 2023.
Okay.
But in those complaints, but we didn't hear until 2023, that people had started noticing this about roughly 10 years ago, varying between each.
Roughly 10 years ago,
Correct.
people had noticed this?
Yes.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, go
Hold on
ahead.
1 second, we have a lot of people here. I want to kind of piggyback on something that was said by the other council members for a second. Sometimes when more people take a look at something, we all learn more. Hamilton County Crime Lab, I'm sure they're as smart and effective and detailed. But if you thought about maybe going to University of Cincinnati or Miami University to get some maybe additional view of what this is all about, because you're dealing with particulate, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, the specific analysis that we do is called scanning electron microscopy energy dispersion X-ray spectrometry, and spectrometry, and it's SEM-EDS, and it's looking at the elemental components of the sample. So the sample that's taken, they're looking at individual particles and determining what those particles are. And the crime lab has done this work for our office, and also a company in Blue Ash called ALS Environmental. I'm not aware that UC has that specific equipment, but we could look in to see if there's any resources that we're not aware of.
You might get some opinions, you might get some data
Yeah.
involving health or involving just another
Yeah,
set of eyes and more
yeah.
equipment on it. I forgot who was first. Carlin, you want, Councilmember Fairfield?
Yeah, one of the things I did do is I contacted, when we were working through this situation, I did contact a UC professor, chemical engineering, and I asked him for advice and if he had any recommendations. And I told him everything that we're doing, and he didn't have additional recommendations at that time. But I did reach out in that case and tried to see if there's something that we were missing.
Councilmember Fair?
Thank you. Carrie, going back to Councilman Lauer's question about potential health hazards, I did not are there or are there not health hazards?
I mean,
in
we
these
haven't,
particulates?
yeah, I mean, there are health effects from particulate matter, yes. There are health-based national standards for particulate matter that limit how much particulate matter we should all be inhaling. So in the ambient air quality, there are national health-based limits. That differs, I guess, when you're writing a permit, the regulations are also supposed to be protective of public health. If the agency or Ohio EPA if there's a gap where we think something is missing, then we do have the Ohio EPA nuisance rule, which is the rule that we quoted in our warning letter asking the company to submit a compliance plan to address particulate fallout. Because the first set of samples, the majority of the particulate came back as alumina. And then the second 5-week study that James did to see if the situation was still occurring, the majority of the particulate came back as silicon, which is not indicative of industrial emissions coming from US Alco. So this third study that we're going to be doing is trying to see if there's any particulate matter continuing to fall out on neighbors' property.
But that's still not like a yes or no as far as health goes.
Yeah, I mean, that's a,
Are there health concerns in the testings that you have done so far?
I mean, I would say that That's a difficult question to answer because there are health concerns related to particulate matter. I don't have evidence to suggest that the particulate matter being inhaled is causing additional health concerns. But we don't have a monitor that's in the neighborhood directly. The complaints that we mainly have had that is causing property damage, not necessarily causing health effects.
Chris? Gary, question. This needs to continue to be monitored. Spot monitoring, I don't think it's going to get it done.
Yeah.
This needs to be continually monitored. There's already been a finding of aluminum particulate, I guess. I think this situation needs more eyes, more monitoring, maybe some other professionals taking a look at this with the health considerations. Councilmember Pullman, you want to say something, please?
Thanks, Mayor. First of all, Carrie, thank you for the presentation. It's helpful, very helpful, but I do have some questions, maybe a couple here. But how often do they do stack tests normally at a place like Alco? Without problems, without having complaints? Is it once a year, or is it
Did the permit require?
once every 2 years?
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years. And so now when you have a problem, you start testing how many times?
If there's a problem, like if they fail to stack tests, then they will receive a violation as they did this time, and then they have to retest until they make the adjustments until they're in compliance.
Is there a certain time of year that they do a stack test? I mean, because being an allergy person in Ohio, it's, it's going to be different in the summer. It's spring, stuff like that. Summer, I think it's going to travel more than maybe the winter. I may be wrong, but, reading about it, sorry, it just disappeared again. Sorry, I'll get there. But I know one thing that concerns me about that it does have one of its side effects or respiratory irritation with possible lung scarring over long-term effects. So different seasons, could it be possible that these things, that their test could pass one season and maybe in the summertime if they're not tested, maybe it's worse in the summer. So has anybody ever looked into that? Is that a possibility is what I'm asking.
They typically wouldn't be required to repeat a stack test unless there was cause. The emission rate coming out of the stack is very, very low. Do you know offhand the emission rates for
Is it very, very low after they fix their problems, or is very, very low before the problems?
Do you know the amounts?
So they did do testing in the summer, in July, and then they did it in August as well. Those emissions were for particulate. Off the top of my head, it was like 0.06 pounds per hour of particulate coming out of the stack. So they are very small amounts as far as how it was measured.
Okay, because again, it's, I worry about the long-term effects. Of course, I know that's what the neighborhood's looking at, and reading up on it, it is irritable to the lungs and stuff, and that's what I'm concerned about is different times that they test, if the testing would vary. And
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that's an answer you can get us or down the road, but do, different temperatures test different? I would love to know, because it could be a big difference in the neighborhood. If the testing in the winter and it doesn't travel as far or whatever, I'm not a scientist, okay?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, think of it as the stack emissions. I mean, they're measuring they actually have a device inside the stack measuring the emissions. And the comparison is what are people breathing in the ambient air. So,
So they're
they're
measuring
two different
the
things.
inside. They're not measuring the actual output. There's no way. Is there a way to measure what's
I mean, that is how you determine what's coming out of a stack is, there's a stack and there's a hole in the stack and they measure the emission rate at a traverse going through the stack.
So what would you think the accuracy of that test is?
I mean, this is the test that is used all over the country, and I think, yeah, it's high accuracy.
Okay.
It has a lot of quality assurance and quality control to ensure that your numbers are tested under the right conditions.
Okay.
But the things that someone's breathing is different than what's coming out of the stack, because there are other sources of air pollution. You know, there are train tracks, there are cars, there are companies, there are allergies, there's biologicals. So there's a lot of things that come into play for what we're all breathing in the ambient air.
But
So,
have they proven that the residue on the cars are coming from there?
I mean, the first set of samples, the majority of the particulate was alumina. So we identified US Alco as the source.
Okay.
The second set, where James did the 5-week study, did not indicate to us that it was coming from the company, because a majority of the particulate was silicon. And that is earth, road dust that could come from, I mean, that would not be from an industrial source.
Okay.
So, and then we had another sample that was just taken off someone's car that was biological. So it was pollen and mold. So the last 2 samples have not linked results to US Alco.
Pollen in Ohio? No,
Yeah.
yes, that's sarcasm. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for answering everything. And again, thanks for your presentation.
Councilmember Nab, I was going to have you speak before audience of citizens, if that's okay.
I will, Pat, thanks.
That way, because you worked with a lot of these individuals, so when we call the citizens up to speak, I was going to have you lead that, if that's
And
okay.
that's why I was waiting. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay. Anyone else on council besides Tim? Wish to speak? Vice Mayor Smallwood.
So just to reiterate, it sounds like these tests are ran every 5 years on rotation. And then, do you know historically if the emissions have been within an acceptable range in the past couple decades, we'll say?
Yeah, so they tested in 2024. That was a retest after they had failed. And I believe in 2020, they had also failed their stack test, so then they had a retest and they passed. And I think those are the only 2 times they've had to test.
Okay.
They became, as Carrie mentioned, the synthetic miner, which puts you on that track to do testing, back in, I believe, 2015. So they would be on like every 5 years.
And then during those retest times, was the one reactor or stack taken offline? Do you know?
Like, was it still operating in
Correct.
between? And
Or was it still operating during the retest?
yes,
Okay. Because I thought I had read that as a precaution, they took one of the stacks offline.
Yeah.
so yes, yeah, they
Okay.
they did shut. That was not during a test. That as a result of the stack testing, they decided to take one of the reactors offline.
And was that a permanent decision? Was that just a remedial?
My understanding, with the letter that they sent us,
Uh-huh.
is that's a permanent decision.
Okay.
And that, one of the reasons they did that was to avoid getting a permit for that process. Because they wanted to remain de minimis and not have to apply for and obtain a permit. That process does not have a control device. So we're talking about 2 different processes generally, or 3 that they have. 2 of them don't require an air permit, and one requires an air permit, one process does, and it has a scrubber as a control device. So the reason that you typically stack test are to determine if the control device is working properly, which is what we're trying to do every 5 years. And then another reason to test is if you've never done a test and you have a new source installed, we typically go off engineering calculations, and that's a very normal thing in Ohio. In this case, they were trying to verify their engineering calculations with a stack test for the ACH process. And through that process, they found emissions are very low, But if they ran all 5 reactors, they could be subject to getting a permit. That permit wouldn't require them to add a control device or wouldn't have any real new requirements, but it would have some terms and conditions that would require them to report to us, but it would not tell them they have to install a new scrubber or a new control device for the particulate that's coming out of the stack.
And this might be outside of your scope.
Yeah.
But the decision to take one of those offline, what sort of oversight is there for that? Like, they could say, oh, we're taking this offline.
Yeah, well, we're probably out in that area at least once or twice a month right now.
Okay.
And then
You were there
I was
Monday?
just out there on Monday for the exact reason, because they told us that they're gonna shut one of the reactors down, so I wanted to verify.
Okay,
And they have.
okay,
When I was there, they were only operating three of the reactors at that time.
okay, okay. Sorry, I have a few more follow-up questions. And then the storage shelter, the picture that you showed in your presentation, that was an extra measure that was added?
Yes.
Okay. And some of my fellow council members have asked similar questions, but there's no evidence that the emissions produce harmful particulates, and could that be due to the low aluminum within that particulate matter that was tested? So the main thing we're worried about is a high level of aluminum in the particulate matter. Is that correct?
I guess in general, there are health-based standards for particulate matter. There are not in particular, there's not, I guess, alumina spelled out differently in the National Ambient Air Quality Standards. Particulate is, and it's monitored for extensively in Southwest Ohio, and we want to be, as a region, in compliance with those health-based standards. And if we're not in compliance, things like, do you remember when we had e-check for all of our cars? I mean, some of the state of Ohio, if we're not in compliance with ambient air quality standards, then the state of Ohio has to take action items to try to reduce particulate levels or ozone levels in Southwest Ohio.
And then I know we're doing some ongoing studies right now to
Yes.
ensure that this gets fixed as soon as possible. But once that occurs, are we just back to that 5-year kind of rotation of testing?
Yeah, I mean, the stack tests would probably occur typically on permit renewal or what the permit requires. So it's typically, a 5-year cycle.
Okay.
Unless we have like credible evidence or some other reason to ask them to test on a more frequent basis.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I do just have one question
Okay.
pertinent to what's going on. Are the stack tests 24/7?
No, it's a 1-day test that occurs, usually 3-hour test that occurs.
Would that be between 9 at night and 9 in the morning?
Typically, the company hires a contractor that comes in and runs the test, and they usually have to run the equipment at max capacity. So we're getting worst case when they're running the stack test. So that is usually not done in the night, just because the contractors are coming in and working during the day. But if the process, though, is a process that runs only during the evening hours, then I mean, companies, we have witnessed stack tests in the evening on other occasions at other companies, so.
Thank you.
Anyone else on council wish to make a comment, speak at this point in time before we have audience of citizens? Okay. All right, we're going to go to the next segment, but we're going to start off with the folks from Linden Wall who are in this situation. So, next segment of the meeting is audience of citizens. Individuals who wish to speak may speak during this part of the agenda, or may speak when the item is up for a vote on the council floor, all individuals are required to have signed this blue public speaking book. We have about 6 people who did sign. Each speaker is allowed up to 5 minutes. Before we have the actual citizens come up, I want Councilmember Tim Nab to, his council has received already photographs that were submitted, video that was submitted, and Councilmember Nab is kind of facilitating with some of the residents getting that information to us. Councilmember Nab, if you would kind of tell us a little bit before the citizens come up here as far as what you have seen and what you have
Thank you, Mayor.
asked.
This past summer, we had a neighborhood barbecue as our city manager traverses the city, and we have community groups that gather in parks and schools, different agencies where our neighborhoods meet. And we had a barbecue in Lindenwold at one of the parks there. The neighbors that are primarily affected with the effluent produced at USA Alco came and talked to us that afternoon, that evening. A couple of cars were there. We went out and looked at the cars, the particulate that was adhering to the vehicles, adhering to the glass around the vehicles, the chrome, what have you. And it was very, very telling to us. In turn, I kind of became the point person for the initiative for the Lindenwold residents that contacted me and said, Councilman Knapp, we have things on our property. We have people that are incurring breathing and visual things that are going on from the particulate, and it was fairly evident where it was coming from. You heard me just ask about the stack test. I went over at night, I went over during the day, I talked to the neighbors, I took pictures, I took a short video of myself of the effluent that was being produced roughly at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. It was very apparent to me that the stacks were producing quite a bit of product. Shouldn't say product, but what we would refer to as steam or smoke coming out of a stack, out of all 7 stacks. That's why I asked the question a moment ago about the production. It appeared to me that the production team at that plant were working at night rather than during the day. The product coming out of the stacks, whatever you'd want to call it, steam or apparent smoke coming out of the stacks is very, very light during the day, but profound was a word I would use. The chimneys were very, very active at night. And many times it was 5 nights a week. I was over there during the week, on Friday nights, on Monday nights and things. And the particulate coming from the downwind area happens to be in the community of Lindenwold. So I'd like to listen to the neighbors who are here with us tonight, who signed the book to be able to talk to us. We have a lot of information that was supplied in hundreds of pages, and the results of the testing that's been done. And as the team from spoke with us tonight, there's more testing that's going to be accomplished. So the city of Hamilton, the city of Fairfield are very, very intrigued by what's going on, by the analysis that have taken place. We want to be part of this ongoing, if you will, the supervision. We appreciate that US Elco has taken if you will, a stack offline, one of the assembly units offline. They also built the shelter for the aluminum ingots that are on the property that was open air up until this past November. So they are taking some cautionary things, but again, we want to be able to be responsible in listening to our residents that have been affected tonight. Thank you.
I want to mention for the record before anybody does speak that that meeting during the summer was at one of our Lindenwold parks. It was hosted by Protocol. I say thank goodness for Protocol because they are involved with the community in so many ways. They hosted it. All 7 of us in the council were there at that Protocol meeting this past summer. And I know several of us have also made that nighttime drive. So I'm going to go in order. Well, I'm not going to go in the exact same order because, Tim, you spoke with Britt
Wilkie, I believe, is that correct?
She's kind of the point person for the
Okay, I'm going to
community.
have her speak first, if that's okay. If you want to come on up to the podium, give us your name, your address, and I know that you have worked with Mr. Nab on this, and we have all seen the photographs and they've been sent to us.
Hello, I'm
Good
Brittany.
evening.
I'm waiting for the photos to come up so I can kind of explain them to you as well. You don't care? Thank you. So I have lived in my house since I was a baby. My parents bought the house. I actually bought it from them. We started noticing, we bought a 22 Harley Davidson. Then we bought a 23 Chevy Traverse. In 23, we started noticing on the paint, it looks like somebody had hairsprayed my car, and we could not get it off. We tried magic erasers, we tried, everything you can imagine. I looked up chemical stuff on Google, what to take it off. Okay, so this is what it kind of looks like. It looks like a hairspray. Anyway, you cannot go through a car wash. You can go through a car wash 10 times right in a row. It does not move. It does not come off. They have came to my house. They actually took a scraping off of my car. The mirrors were laid at my house for 5 weeks. My Tahoe, for instance, one of the samples that they took off, it was there for 4 years. They just keep saying that it's roadside, So then when the mirror test, for instance, came up and it was 5 weeks, the difference is that my Tahoe was here for 4 years, my mirrors were here for 5 weeks, and then they keep scraping onto like a little glass thing. And I asked them many times, is there a different type of testing that you could do? Instead of scraping it and, breaking that particle down or whatever it is, why can't you just take the glass and leave it there and then you can go test that? Also, I've asked them to, I have a pool, I have a pond, I've asked them to put a bucket out with water, for instance, and if you're not happy with the chemicals that are in the pool or even the pond because it's still, bring, a new bucket or whatever, and you can add rainwater or, even a water from the area. I asked them to do that. They will not do it. They keep saying that the water, they want running water from like a creek or something. Well, in our area of Lindenwold, there is not one particular area of water that runs. I have a metal and a plastic pole in my backyard. I've asked them, I'm going to leave it here. It was from a telephone pole tether pole, sorry. And I've asked them to take that, and that's a metal and that's a plastic that you can sample off that. They refused that as well. I still have that in my backyard. So another thing, sorry, I've got so much on my mind. The health issue. I have a couple neighbors that have came up with they're legally going blind. One of them is my age, we're 37, 38 years old, and the doctor has no idea of what's happening, why this is happening, and it is going a lot quicker. And my other neighbor, same thing, eye issues. She is legally going blind as well. They don't know why. They're still trying to figure that out as well. The claims that she's talking about and how we should possibly call our insurance if, and have all this cleaned up through our insurance. And she's also told us to call the company, for instance, and we've called the company, we've left voicemails, we've emailed them. There's never a return call back. And then for our insurance itself, why should we have to get dinged twice? Because our things are also getting, our insurance is going to go up first of all if we make a claim. And then, why? I don't understand any of it. There's never any answers. This has been going on for years, and we've asked her and asked her and asked her, and she just comes back oh, we'll look into this, we'll look into that, and never nothing. And then the Tahoe was the very first testing, like I said, and that one matched. That right there should have been enough, and it should have been good enough to let's do something different than what we're doing right now. And then not just that, but it's every few, 6 months, they gave them a timeline for that shelter, for instance. They gave them an entire year to put that up. Why was there a whole year timeline for them to put that up? And it's not just a nuisance. There is health issues also going on with this. We have neighbors moving out of our house, or out of our neighborhood, for instance, because they don't want to put up with it. Our stuff's being ruined. We have pool noodles, for instance. they're literally deteriorating. Like, they're just not just, you have to replace them once a year because you want something new for your pool. They're deteriorating. Like, it's just, it's bad. And until you live there or you've came and seen it and witnessed it, yourself, like, it doesn't bother you, or, it's not on your priority list, you know what I mean? And that's what we've asked them many times, like, and then the complaints for that website that she had up, for instance. I know a lot of neighbors that have tried to put complaints in and they've been successful. And I've also know a lot of neighbors that have tried to put complaints in and they try to add pictures or videos and it will not go through, like, many times. And then there's also been complaints that on their end, it goes through, but then they don't ever hear nothing back from them. So it's like, I don't get it. I feel like we're at the point now where this is my childhood home at the end of the day. I lived here my entire life. Like I said, I even bought the house myself because I have my animals buried in my backyard. I wanted my kids to, understand what a home feels like, just like I did as a child. I do not want to sell my home, but I'm almost at the point where I feel like I'm being forced out of it. And it's all because of, a company that has stacks like this and is just ruining. Like, my parents have had brand new cars, my neighbors. There's a lot of the neighbors on the block that have been there since I was a little girl. Like, they've all had different new cars, older cars, whatever the case is, and we've never had this issue until about 10 years ago, maybe. But we started seeing it, like I said, when I got my Traverse in 23, and I thought it was honestly like somebody sprayed their yard with chemical. Yeah. But they took my car and they tried to clay block it. They said, we'll have it for about 6 hours. They ended up having it for 2 weeks, and they said they've never seen nothing like it. So, and they will not jake it again.
Well, definitely, the item that you listed as far as the polls and all, keep those.
Yeah.
I personally think there needs to be more eyes, more scientific
Yeah.
eyes, more
Yeah.
frequently looking at this.
Yeah.
And Tim, I think this is one of the residents that you have spent some time with.
A lot of time with Britt,
Yeah.
yes. And to share again, as she did her property, the swimming pool, the if you will, the goldfish pond, the apparatus around the pool, all has residue on it. And again, I took pictures. Britt shared pictures with us earlier this week that have been up on the board tonight. One of those smaller short videos shows the, if you will, the product coming out of the stacks and things like that. So again, Britt, thank you for sharing tonight. I know we've got other people we'd like to hear from as well.
If I could ask Britt a question. The Harley Davidson that you had parked, that was sanded down at one point?
It was wet sanded.
Wet sanded?
Hardly actually, I thought it was.
Okay. Why don't you let Britt give the answer, if that's okay, sir?
Yeah, it was wet sanded. My Traverse was also wet sanded and it was clay blocked. And like I said, we actually have a neighbor that was in detailing for over 20 years, and he actually took gasoline even to our car, and it did not come off with that.
So, but after you wet sanded it, it came back immediately and it was parked, if I remember correctly, you told me it was parked in the garage?
Yeah.
The
So
entire
at
time?
first we had it outside, but it was covered with a motorcycle tarp, and then we put it in the garage after that. And but when it comes back after that's been done, for instance, it doesn't take like a day for you to see it. It takes about 2 weeks, and then you'll start seeing a little spot here. Could you put those pictures up real quick again? I'm so sorry. That's okay. Yeah, that's fine. But you'll see like a little, it's almost like somebody, when you spray paint and you'll see just a couple, right? Like dots. And then if you continue to spray paint, you'll just see a lot more. That's how it kind of builds back up.
After you'd wet sanded it, though,
Yeah.
you had told me that it was parked in the garage,
Yeah.
inside the garage.
Correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
And the same thing with the vehicles, same thing with the, if you will, the patio furniture and things that they've cleaned and tried to clean, and
Our
it all comes
siding.
back.
Yeah, our siding, the metal rails on our, walking paths and everything. I mean, it's on our concrete. You can see it on the concrete when we go to clean our concrete. I mean, it's everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Britt. Also, we had another resident, I think, submit some photos, and with some kind of a timeline on them. Is Christy Bailey here, or did somebody sign for Christy Bailey? For the record, council has those photos, has seen them. They do have some years on them, so you did put like a little timestamp on them. You wish to speak to us about what you've observed, please do. And give us your name and your address, though, please.
My name's Christy Bailey, and I live at 1195 Allen Avenue. I don't have a lot of additional than what Britt shared. I did share some of the photos. We originally, we had new siding put on our house back in 2020, and the automobiles, also a 2020. And at first, we had a neighbor that lived next door to us that had a large tree, and we actually thought some of that was just like sap from the tree or something sticky on the cars. We had it detailed, and the gentleman said, I don't know what this is, but it's aside from buffing it down the clear coat, he said, this isn't coming off. Just detailing it isn't going to fix this. Our neighbor cut the tree down, and he had buffed it and gotten some of this off and made it a little bit better. But then we got it back. The tree is now gone, and then it got considerably worse. That's when we knew that there was something more going on, something in the air. It wasn't just from, nature or something from the trees or just in the air. Like it was settling on it. Again, the siding that we have was installed in 2020. You can see in the pictures, and like Britt said, it's almost like hairspray or something that's been sprayed on there. We had a GMC Sierra truck, and we sold it, and the people that we sold it to said they actually had to have new windshield and side windows replaced in it because it visually impaired your driving from how thick that is on the windows. And the siding, the same thing. Like I said, we had brand new siding installed, and it's just a layer over all of the siding and awnings. We had new awnings, and that's the picture in the front there. And if you can zoom in, you can see, it's white, and then now it's like a gray, the black specks on it from where it just settles on there. And like Brittany said, they're saying we can turn it into our insurance company, but to file all these claims to our insurance, that's not fair for us when they admittedly, they failed the test. So obviously, we all are suffering from the same damage that occurred that we shouldn't have to. And even if it's just paying to detail our cars, not necessarily an insurance claim, but something needs to happen to get these repairs done, and it shouldn't be on the homeowners to be responsible for all of this.
There's got to be an easier, better process for that. But
Agreed. Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm now going to go in order of those who, Malcolm Spencer has an Allen Avenue address. Mr. Spencer, you're here on this issue, is that correct?
Yes.
And you did speak at the protocol meeting in the park. I remember your comments, so give us your name and your address if you would, please, when you get to the podium.
The ladies did a great job in explaining what's going on in our area. But the thing I question is U.S. Alco flunked their test. And my understanding is they fired that company when they flunked the test. Then they hired another company to give them the 99.9%. To me, it's like, and then another thing too is that they might have taken the test in the daytime, but at nighttime, all of those stacks are just hung. And I recently got my house painted. And I knew that there was some of that stuff on my house because it's a blue house, and it's really got a dingy denim blue. It just got dingy. I had my house painted a month ago, a month and a half ago, and it's a bright denim blue color that actually looks pretty good. You know what I'm saying? But we know that there's something going on in our neighborhood. We know it's coming from U.S. Alcoa. We know it is aluminum coming out there. Regardless of whatever thing else, we know that it has an aluminum effect to it because I just had one of my cars detailed from a company out of Texas that I had detailed, that did a detail on my Taurus back in 2018 that my insurance company, that I filed a claim with my insurance company, had this company come from Texas to acid wash or whatever they did to get all this stuff off. It is a big, big project, and it's very, very, very expensive. Now, become friends with this guy that did it in Texas. He sent his crew was close. He sent his crew to do my other car. This has been 2.5 months ago, 3 months ago, okay? Took it all off. It was beautiful, beautiful. Guess what? It ain't beautiful no more because it's all back. So is it getting better in our neighborhood? No. Is it a health issue? I think one of the young men in our neighborhood got two or three kids, got eye issues. He's had 7 or 8 eye surgeries since he's been living in Lindenwold. Come on. Is that just a coincidence? No, it's not. And then we got kids that are running around. And I think at the protocol meeting, I said, the kids can't even go swim in their own swimming pool. People can't even eat their vegetables and whatever that they're growing in their yard because they're getting this stuff on their fruits and vegetables. So I really appreciate, though, here's what I appreciate. I'm going to give you some good news. I appreciate Fairfield being here, because that's where the company is located, in Fairfield, okay? I'm hoping that if anything, that U.S. Alcoa will say, okay, this is a nuisance to our residents, our people, that we need to get some of this, open up some claims to where people can get checked out, make sure they don't have all this metal stuff in their bodies and their eyes and all this kind of stuff, and also open up claims so people can literally get their cars put into the shape that they were before all this stuff happened. That's my goal. You know what I'm saying? My hope. But companies, they know how to work the system. And to be honest with you, I think U.S. Alcoa is working the system to their advantage, but I just think it's time for them to be held accountable. Now, why 5 years ago that they made tests, and this has been going on longer than 5 years, okay? And then all of a sudden now, U.S. Alcoa or the EPA or Air Quality Control, that they should be testing at the highest level. Why? Here's the question. They got 5 or 6 or 7 stacks over there. How come all of them are not being tested? How come only just 2 or 3? How come there's not scrubbers on all of them? If they're polluting all these emissions, that's my question. I think it's probably a pretty good question, I think. But I just hope that we can get to the bottom of this. I hope Fairfield would join our city manager and our council to figure out what can we do to bring Alcoa, U.S. Alcoa to the table. Says this is what's going on. We need to come up with some sort of solution so our citizens will be able to be, helped. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. Next, I've got Brandon Byrne. If you'll come to the podium, state your name and your address. And if there's something that you want to add to what the other speakers have said, please give that to
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brandon. I live at 1184 Allen Avenue. I am a former Marine. I have been in the heavy highway field for 15 years. I work for a company called KT Holden Construction, who just recently put a kayak ramp in here in Hamilton. I say that to give you knowledge. I am very versed in the construction field. I know how EPA works. I know how the Army Corps of Engineers works. I know how to deal with them. I've dealt with many municipalities in my career so far. I would like to give great gratitude to the city of Hamilton in the way they have shown extended effort towards us. Brittany is my significant other. We live in the same house. I will tell you that we are endless in the community. We coach the youth. We are involved with programs across the city. She has put in a tremendous amount of effort towards this. And we feel like we haven't been justified in other means. This is the first time we've seen the city of Fairfield. We thank you for showing up today. As far as the Harley, that Harley was bought in 2022. These problems have been around longer than 2024. That Harley was bought in 22. It went in for a recall, came back, and the guy who actually picked it up with the trailer said, something happened to your bike. You might want to call the dealership. And he started showing me on the bike. Mind you, this bike, every painted part has a ceramic protectant coating on it from the dealership. The bike was bought brand new. It went back. They couldn't tell me what it was. I thought maybe somebody in the shop sprayed brake dust and it got on the bike. They took it, had to completely tear the bike apart, down, take every painted part off of it, send it to a body shop. It was completely wet sanded and then re-ceramic coated. And then brought back to my house. Within a week, it was covered again. I later wrecked that bike. It was completely rebuilt, $25,000 worth of parts put on that motorcycle. It is completely covered, worse than it ever has been, and it sits in a garage. I barely ride it. I can't stand to look at it anymore. That's a $35,000 motorcycle. Her car fixed. I'd like to state that they said that all these were silica. If you look on the Hamilton lab report right here, for contaminant powder and item number 2, which is the mirrors that were in my backyard, were comprised of mostly aluminum, but silicon. Not all silicon, mostly aluminum. I'm more concerned about the kids in our community. I coach these kids. I watch them grow up. I have a kid that's a freshman, a kid that graduates this year, and a kid that's in kindergarten. And I coach these kids. I've watched them all grow. To know that this is going on in our community, that we're letting our children inhale this and deal with it. I could care less about my health. I've been through a lot in life. My health doesn't matter to me, but my children and the children of this community should matter. And these stacks run 24/7, 365. The pictures prove it. Whether somebody wants to tell you that they're only running one stack or a stack's down for a test, that stack was never down for a test. We live there. You can walk out my front door, stand on my porch, and watch all those stacks roll smoke nonstop. It never ends. So to sit here and say that we can't blame them after we were told that they were to blame by the same company, to me, like in my business, when a company wants to get around some things, they find a way around them, especially when they're notified ahead of time. They're notified you're coming. And then when we were talked about a test, the test was postponed for months at a time because an employee was on vacation. In any other business, nothing gets postponed because somebody's on vacation. There's somebody there to replace that person, to run those tests and get that done. If you're giving somebody all this time, they're gonna make the changes and do what needs to be necessary while you're there to pass that. And even when they couldn't pass it, we still let them run. It doesn't make any sense to a community. I mean, if I'm on a job site building a bridge and I contaminate that water with any little speck of dirt, boy, let me tell you, we get shut down and fines are in place. It doesn't just go unnoticed.
Brandon, what's the date on that test that you just quoted?
This is from October 10th and 11th, 2024, which would be after the stack test was supposedly done, which...
Don't roll that up yet. Who did that test?
Hamilton County Crime Laboratory.
Okay, so that's the Hamilton County Crime, that's the October test, which I think we do have the results.
We do, yes.
From that.
And if you look at this, the results, sample number 1 and item number 1.
Was that the first test? Was that the first test?
I believe that was the second test.
Second test.
The second test, which they said, item 1 had aluminum in it. Well, here it says aluminum, but sodium was also detected. And then you go to the gray chunks of powder in item number 2 were compromised of mostly aluminum, but silicon, iron, sulfur, phosphorus, magnesium, calcium, potassium, chlorine, sodium, titanium, copper, and xine were also detected. Multiple chemicals that should not be airborne.
All right. Thank you for what
I
you
also want to state that there were 2 stacks removed in the last 2 months and replaced.
Thank you. I'll tell you what, why don't we get through all the speakers first on this issue, because we still have 2 more. Randy Tartar, you wish to speak? From the podium, give us your address, and if you want to add to what those individuals already said, please do. Your name and your address, please.
Hello, my name's Brandy Tarter. I'm at 1187 Allen Avenue, across the street from Britt and Brandon. I don't know that I have a lot to add other than what they've said. I will say that the pictures that you're seeing on screen of the particulate matter does not do it justice at all. It is literally like, if you're driving down the road, it is like trying to see through a glazed donut. It is a complete glaze all over your windows, to the point where I actually bought a new car because I couldn't see out of the windows to drive. We have a Ford F-250 that's been in my driveway for over a year that we have not driven because you can't see out the windows. Now, I love this neighborhood. My children have their friends, but I'm going to try to paint a picture. Winter is here. It's dark at 6 o'clock. You can't leave your house because it's not safe to drive. It's not safe to drive your car anywhere because you can't see where you're going because of the glaze on the windows. So spring rolls around. Yay, spring. Let's clean the house. Don't want to open up the windows to air the house out because you don't know what's blowing in the windows. Summertime gets here. Wasn't in the pool all year last year. Didn't plant the garden. Don't know what's growing in my yard. Don't want to leave the dog outside to play. Don't want to let the kids go for a walk. Don't want to take them to the park. Kids don't get to enjoy the pool all year. I work for a Fortune 7 company, making 6 figures a year. I could live anywhere I wanted to. I work remotely. I could move anywhere. I want to be here because my parents are a street over and they're getting older and they need to be taken care of. My brother is buried down the road. My children's father is buried up the hill. This is where I want to live, and this is where my kids need to be. Do I need to move? Am I safe? Are the health issues that we're all dealing with now, is that coming from US Alco? I can't prove that it is, but they can't prove that it's not. When you ask the question, I think 3 different members asked questions relating to the health issues. We didn't get an answer. They can't tell me that it's not coming from there. That's what I want to know. Are my kids safe? Can I actually enjoy where I live? That's all I want. Peace of mind. I don't care about my car. I don't care that my house is ruined. Every wall needs repainted. The siding is ruined. Had a new roof put on. Looks like a glazed donut. All of the patio furniture is ruined. The pool is ruined. Everything is ruined. I don't care about any of that stuff. I want to grow old with my children, and I want peace of mind, and I'm not getting that. Thank you.
Thank you. And so far, we've had all Allen Avenue addresses. Lastly, we have Kim Kirby. Were you wishing to speak? No. Go to the podium, give us your name and your address.
Hi, I'm Kim Kirby. I live at 6074 Blue Rock Road, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45247. And what else did I need to repeat?
Okay.
Okay. I'm here. I'm actually Brittany's mom. I bought that house in 1988. I lived there for myself for 22 years. We had new cars. We had old cars and new cars. And as far as them saying some of these samples came back with, like saying it's a dirt road or, dirt or whatever, that's completely not true. I lived there 22 years. We didn't have that issue back then.
Talk to us because this is being recorded. Okay.
I lived there 22 years. We didn't have that issue, and I'm sure dirt didn't just get invented after this point. My daughter moved in. Her and my son-in-law lived there for 15 years, and then after the Harley Davidson, that's when we started noticing. And we just knew there's something not right, because living there so long and nothing going on. Also, my daughter and son-in-law lived there. They bought the house where they grew up to raise their kids in a safe neighborhood, like she did. This is not something that we would have ever thought. You worry about, the thugs, you worry about, the bad kids running around and this and that, but we never ever dreamed you'd have to worry about something falling from the sky, and you're worrying about all of that. There are neighbors that have definitely gotten sickness. In fact, my oldest granddaughter's grandmother lives around the corner too, you know, and she's had issues as well. There's, you know, lots of people there that's close with issues. And it just, there's definitely something there. You know, the samples at first definitely showed aluminum and sodium were discovered on the samples, and you've seen them. And I get it that they went ahead and then they changed everything. They took down some stacks, they removed some stacks, you know, because obviously the proof was in the pudding. It was right there on the samples, you know it, you admitted it. And even though you changed it in 2025, and now, great, it's all passed, you know, the damage is done. You may be getting some things that are better, but it doesn't erase anything that was before that original sample, you know, which was probably the last sample, I mean, within the 5 years, I guess. And I guess my question as well is there a probation period? Because, I mean, I heard them say that in 20, they retested because they failed. 24, they retested because they failed. And honestly, I couldn't hear before because I just couldn't hear. But anything before 2020, you know, I don't know how them tests went because I didn't know if he mentioned them or didn't mention them. But it's like, is that all they do is they fail, so they retest, and then they all of a sudden get they shut down the machines so we can get a passing, then we'll turn them back on? Or when they retest, is there like a probation period where they fail, they have to retest like once a month or something? Because it's easy to shut down, you know, your machines to get a passing, and then here we go again for 5 years, we're good to go. And, you know, I don't care about the cars, I don't care about the motorcycles, I don't care about the houses and this and that. My kids live there. You know, my daughter, my son-in-law, my grandkids, they live there. And like I said, they live there because it was a safe neighborhood. This is not something we ever in our lifetime would have thought we'd have to worry about. But when you look at the damage on these cars and on these windows, and you worry about it being inside them, it scares me to death. You know, I feel like telling them, you know what, pack up and go. But unfortunately, these people all live together. You know, this whole neighborhood, you know, they're sticking together. And it's more than just, oh, let's pack up and go, you know, because, and it's not our problem anymore. You know, let's just pack up and go. But they care enough to worry about the next generation, you know. And unfortunately, this generation that's living there now they may end up paying for it with their health, you know, because if you can't scrub something off a window, you know, I mean, none of us are stupid. It's not going to just erase inside. And, you know, I thank these residents for not saying, you know what, let's put this house on the market and pack up and go. Because it's taken a lot, you know, for these people to put it out there on Facebook, to put it out, walk the streets, and try and see if anybody else is having problems. And it's because they care. And, you know, they've put up with a lot of ridicule, too, from people on Facebook. Oh, you're just wanting money. Oh, you just don't know how to wash cars. You know, that's not it at all. They care. These people have grown up there. They've raised their kids there. You know, they don't want to leave and just say, heck with it. It's somebody else's problem. And that company, I would hope they go back generations instead of, I mean, I know you asked, like, how many, I know somebody, one of you asked, I think it was you, asked back decades, you know, and they kind of threw it out there, oh, 20, you know, we retested.
You raised the question, so we'll get an answer.
Oh, okay. But I'm just saying, I hope that they will go back on the record and really look at every one of these and retest. And they need to, I hope they put them on probation and,
Okay.
you know, thank you.
Thank you. That's all of the individuals who have signed the book about this particular topic. Somebody on council wish to say something real quick?
Mr. Mayor.
Please.
I did have another question that came up, and I was just thinking about here, and with all this stuff coming out of the air, and this is for Carrie, I guess. At any time, I know in my business, whenever I had to do construction or whatever, they always tested my soil. So has the soil been tested around Alco and in the neighborhood to see if there's any similarities to it? And is that required by Alco to have soil tested? Because if it's coming down out of the air, it's going to go into the soil. And soil normally will retain and doesn't lie very much. Trust me, I dealt with the EPA enough that I had to, have this done. So do they do soil testing, or have you done it in that neighborhood too? Two questions.
We are Southwest Ohio Local Air Agency, so we only cover air quality in Southwest Ohio. Ohio EPA would be through Southwest District Office. The Dayton office would do any other media like water and soil. We did contact Ohio EPA to made them aware of the concerns, and I think they responded on the water quality issue and went to Brittany's house and declined to do sampling. I can't remember the exact reason, but they were at her site, I think, and said they would not be doing sampling. So
They wouldn't do sample on the soil or anything?
yeah, I don't know if the soil was brought up, but I could certainly contact Ohio EPA.
I'm
and
just
see.
wondering if there's
Yeah.
anything, Mayor, if Hamilton and City Manager and Scott, if there's anything Hamilton and Fairfield can, insist on having soil samples, because the soil samples, I mean, y'all deal with it just like I used to. It's, soil samples, they tell a lot. And I'm just wondering if it's coming out of the air, it's going in the ground, it's hitting these cars. So how, if it's similar, so is it stronger, is it really heavy at the plant itself and then kind of tapers off as it hits into the Lindenwold neighborhood? But maybe that'll tell us something, and I really don't understand why that hasn't been done yet either. I mean, that really should be done. So I don't know if there's anything that we can do as cities joining together to insist on having soil tested.
Sure. Mr. Mayor,
Please.
Carrie, to that point, is there another regulatory or investigatory body that these residents can turn to for help or for relief other than Southwest Air Quality?
For soil, that would be Southwest District Office of Ohio EPA. So I can contact and let them know of the council's concern about soil and see if they would do any soil testing.
I would appreciate that, and I think the neighborhood would appreciate that a lot. And I think that's the right avenue to go down right now, in my opinion.
Question about testing. Is Aerodynamics the only company that's been used for stack testing?
No, I think they've had several companies do stack
How
testing.
about
at
the
the
fact in the
facility.
last few years? Has it been only Aerodynamics or has it been others?
James will have to speak to that.
The tests that I've observed, they've used Aerodynamics, and they've also used Alliance Technical Group. Alliance Technical Group is the one who's done the most recent testing.
And the most recent one was the most favorable one. Is that correct?
For
The results for the
results,
the percentage.
It wasn't, that one was not for
yes, it wasn't so that test wasn't a pass-fail. They weren't demonstrating compliance with the permit. We had them test that to determine if they were having excess amount of emissions coming out of that process.
So it was Aerodynamics for the first one, Aerodynamics for the second one, and then it was the third one.
Yeah.
Okay. And number two, samples that have been taken from the residents' property, they've been taken only to the Hamilton County Crime Lab and no place else. That's correct then?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Please.
what year did you guys may know the answer to this, what year did US Alco open up their facility?
I don't know if I have that with me.
My knowledge, that facility's been around for a very long time.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. But
And then my other question is, does anybody know if there has been a trust set up for the company so that in the future, if there are problems or concerns about health issues, has something been set up so that the citizens who have been affected get some treatment in the future?
We're not aware.
I know
yeah.
you don't know. You probably don't know that. Just a question in general. Tim, do you?
Don't know, Councilman, but it's a great question. And that was going to be part of my summary is,
Sorry.
that's okay, but great question. I can't thank you folks enough for your courage to be able to come and share your story with us tonight. It's evident that there are concerns in the neighborhood, that there are concerns in the other contiguous streets. that are the, if you will, the downwind flow from Yauselco. The closer you get to Pleasant Avenue, in that area of Lindenwold, the lesser the impact. The closer you get up to Route 4, the higher the impact, exactly where you nice people live, where I visited, and many of the other council members have visited as well. When I walked the neighborhood this past fall and talked to residents on Brough Avenue and over on the continued streets, the carryover wasn't quite as impactful as it is on Allen in the direct line of where those stacks effluent is being produced, and where, if you will, the potential soil samples that Councilman Pullman mentioned and things, probably a good idea. Give us a little bit of time now to do our work. We've learned, City Manager Scott Timmer is here from Fairfield, and his influence in Fairfield, where Yauselco is, their plant is, the influence that it has in our neighborhood in Lindenwold and in the community and things, very impactful. We've learned a lot tonight, Carrie and Jen. Thank you very much for sharing what you did with us tonight. The report that we've received that has been situated throughout City Council, and all of us on council have read it and things, and we've got a lot more questions to come. We just received that last week. So, City Manager, anything else from your point of view?
No, other than I think what I'd like to do is follow up with Carrie and James to, because we've heard a lot about the location of the complaints, but I noted that the first complaint that you all received was late 2023. I know you've received many complaints since that time, and what I'd be interested in is mapping out those complaints based on the addresses so we can see where most of the complaints are originating or located at this point.
Okay, now, thank you for being here, Carrie, and I'm going to ask if anybody wants to leave the council chambers and give their information to the folks from SWOCO. So you folks are okay to leave, but if you at least see if anybody comes out to you and wants to sign up to get results, sign up to have people come out and maybe take samples and the like. Okay?
Sounds great.
All right, is that okay with everybody from the Yauselco issue? Okay. We're going to move to the next topic at this time. And if you want to make your way up here, Frank Downey, that's okay?
Can Lisa speak first?
Yes, we'll have Lisa speak first. Wait, don't. We want to make sure we can hear you clearly. Make sure the door is closed in just a second. And for the record, we have received from Frank Downey the protocol meeting notice, February 16th, 6:30 p.m., where this issue involving the area of that county will be discussed. And I see there's like at least 9 ideas, and there'll probably be more. Lisa, give us your name and your address, please.
Lisa Schindler. I live at 315 Hooven Avenue, which is on the corner of Hooven and River Road. In light of the 2 triple fatality accidents since 2011 and the multiple other accidents that have occurred around the curve on the Hooven and River Road area, we as citizens in this community are determined to make this area safer. We have been having in-depth discussions with protocol and area leaders to provide solutions to make this area of River Road a safer road for all to travel. We would like to extend an open invitation for all to attend the protocol meeting, which will be held on Monday, February 16th at 6:30 p.m. at the Nature Center at Joyce Park. It's located at 101 Joe Nuxall Way, just past Wake Nation. I would also ask any interested parties to reach out to Frank Downey prior to this meeting so that we can discuss and share ideas and solutions. We encourage Hamiltonians to attend this meeting so that we can create a task force to solve this long-term problem, which not only affects those who live in this area, but all who travel River Road. We need to work together to make a difference in this community and to protect life and property in the future.
Thank you, Lisa. We all noted that day and that time. You're ready, Frank?
Yes. Frank Downey, 929 Borough Avenue, Lindenwold. I'm not going to take a lot of additional time, but back in 2010, when we got the new city manager, Joshua Smith, I became involved with Sense of Place at that time, which eventually morphed into 17 Strong, and I've been involved with Protocol, the Lindenwold Community Council, for the last 15 years. My experience in working with city officials in that 15 years has been nothing short of extraordinary. They care, they listen. We've always had a great working relationship with city council, with city managers, with the police department, with the fire department, with the department heads. Up until that time, I could best have been described as a government cynic. And you people have all made believers out of me. And I don't believe in this case it will be any different. I think whenever the heads come together to work on this issue, I think we can begin moving in a positive direction. I think I sent emails out to most of you, and I don't think there's any need to wait until we do the protocol meeting in February. I'd love to get together with everybody. I'm just here as a representative from Protocol. Carla Fear put Tom Schindler in touch with me. And I usually don't even travel River Road, Needham Boulevard. I don't like cars coming at me. 127 is my avenue of choice to get uptown or to the west side. I said, and it's kind of a bold statement to make, the only thing we can fix is a road and a curve. We can't fix stupid. Ron White, member of the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, made that rather obvious. If people are going to drive 80 miles an hour, 110 miles an hour, past 3 cars on double yellow lines, we can't stop that. So let's forget about trying to fix stupid and just work on what we can work on. The city engineer, Alan Messer's been invited. We've also invited Scott Hoover, director of traffic. And I've worked with all these people in the past on different issues. And I'm pretty sure we can come up with something that give us all a little more peace of mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank, and be a good idea to start working on this now.
Yeah, I think
February
so.
16th, really has.
Yeah, the protocol agenda is already filling up. We're not going to solve this in an hour meeting.
Thank you, Frank, for your leadership.
Mr. Mayor.
Please.
Thank you, Frank and Ms. Schindler for your comments. And I'll say that we are working on this already. I know Chief Chenoweth is not able to be here tonight with us, but on his behalf, I wanted to share with the residents of Lindenwold and other concerned citizens the efforts that are ongoing right now in terms of increased traffic enforcement, speed enforcement in the neighborhood on River Road. I know I traveled down that road this weekend and saw the flashing speed warning sign near Loder Park, and then the stationary patrol that was out near River and Hooven. And Frank, to your point, there's not a road in this city that if someone travels it at 45 or 50 miles over the limit, that it's not dangerous. So certainly following up on that. Roadway itself, we've started some internal discussions looking at different suggestions, including the ones that were sent from the meeting, the protocol meeting, and the meeting this past weekend. And then in general, I've said many times, myself as police chief, that every community meeting I went to all across the city, in the top 3 complaints in any neighborhood was always traffic and speed. So it is a priority for us, for our public safety teams. It has been, it continues to be, and our philosophy has long been now to focus on those high visibility, high violation, high volume corridors, because we know that people that are speeding in an egregious manner, that they don't wait until they get onto Hooven Avenue or some side street in a neighborhood to then to be reckless. They're usually traveling at those kind of speeds. They're being reckless from point A to point B, and we have a much better chance to deter them, to get them stopped, and intervene in those high volume, high visibility, high violation corridors. So we're going to continue to do that and look forward to meeting with everyone in February. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Again, thank you, Frank and Lisa. Third topic of our audience of citizens is data centers. Before we get started with the citizens, City Manager, do you wish to say a few things about data centers at this point in time?
Certainly, Mr. Mayor. One update that we have since we last met before the end of the year was that the impact study that we've been waiting on has been completed. We received that information. We're still going through the details of it. But what we do know is that it's going to take a significant amount of time, money, and infrastructure to deliver to meet the project needs that have been set out. So as you're aware, the developer requested to study whether there could be 240 megawatts of power to that site. What we know right now is that it would take at least 24 months to deliver 45 megawatts of power. The developers asked us to pause the additional study that's underway, and that was the facility study, until they've had time to digest those findings. So again, we've been seeking this information, gathering facts about the viability of this project. That's the latest information we have, and we should know more here. I expect by the end of the month to decide whether they want to spend more money to continue to study this project, or if they're going to make a decision to potentially not move forward with additional studies.
Thank you. Okay, two speakers. Jay Kidd, we've got you first, signed. Give us your name and your address.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for having me up here. Jay Kidd, and I live over here at 222 High Street at the Art Space building. I am blown away by what I've seen here tonight. Everyone coming together and talking about this important environmental issue that's been affecting Lindenwold. I think that is absolutely powerful, and I love to see it. One of the things that's been talked about, though, is this idea that, at this point in time, damage has already been done. And it's already a little too late. And all that we can really do now is try to mitigate further damage and try to find recompense for people who have been damaged already. And you know what? I'm reminded of this data center issue that, we've come up here so much and we've harped on this time and time again. And trust me, we will continue to harp on it until it's dead. But the thing that really gets me is we have the power now to put a stop to something that could have even larger health and environmental impacts than aluminum falling from the sky. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but when these data centers run, we're seeing levels of nickel, aluminum, cadmium, lead, and mercury in water supplies. We've talked a lot about how it's going to affect utility prices, how the noise is going to affect people, the fact that that AI itself is just kind of a bubble, and these data centers are probably going to be empty within the next 10 years anyway. But one of the things that we don't really talk about enough is the environmental and health impacts. And that's something that you guys clearly care a great amount about. We don't want our kids having new forms of cancer. We don't want people going blind. We don't want, blight that is affecting the health of the people who live in this great city. I'm reminded of Kim Dine when talking about the data center, and I am reminded of Fernald. And you know what? When those came in, there was not any idea what kind of health and environmental impact that they would have had on our citizens. Why would they? They met all compliance that was necessary for them to exist. And then it happened anyway. Same thing with US Elco. There's obviously, we're still trying to figure out whether or not they're even in violation. But if they are, when they came in here, they promised us that they would follow the regulations and they would try to keep to the highest standards that we can have in order to keep citizens living around there healthy. But we see these data centers all across the country, all across the world, that are causing significant health problems. There has been a 500% increase in cases of asthma near data centers over the last 10 years. We have, as I mentioned before, new kinds of cancers that are only now being discovered that are considered to be data center caused. We are at a point now where we can put a stop to this before it even begins. We don't have to wait for this to be built up and then for, findings to be like, oh, well, maybe they're leaching some things into the water. And then 10 years down the line, it's like, oh, no, actually, all these deaths that have been happening, it's because of the data center. We need to find some sort of recompense for these people who've been harmed. We don't have to wait for that. We can just not build it at all. We could just get to the point where it's like, okay, well, it's just not on the table. We are not willing to sacrifice our children for economic growth. I want to know, like legitimately, everyone has a number. How much money would it take for us to kill one kid? For us to kill 5 kids? For us to kill your grandma? How much is that worth? How much have we, as citizens, decided a human life is worth? I'll just leave you with that. But I think that we can make a decision where we don't have to kill anybody because no amount of money should be acceptable for a human life. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I was going to say, Jade, while you walk back to your seat, it's not too late to fix something. And that's what we really do hope to do with the first issue that we addressed this evening. I will tell you that the topic that you just discussed is one which all of council hears about quite a bit. I think we're all gathering our facts, our opinions from other people. I'm sure there's a negative experiences involving data centers, but I'm sure there's some positive experiences too, maybe in some places where they're doing it right. But we're gathering information. As City Manager said, they're gathering facts, we're gathering facts, and thank you for coming to the podium and giving us your opinion. Is it Lucas? Is it Lacer? Is that your last name, sir?
Yes, correct.
Come up to the podium and give us your name again and your address.
Lucas Lacer, 222 High Street, over at ArtSpace, different apartment than Jay. We're neighbors. Many people have come up to speak about the data centers and the potential risk they pose. Many of the points that have been brought up rightly has been over the pollution and environmental concerns and the health concerns. Issues that I agree are the most important. However, one that I don't think has been iterated perhaps as much that I'd like to bring to the council's attention is the growing evidence that the AI industry in general is appearing to be an asset bubble. You have a lot of large companies. 7 tech companies make up 35% of the S&P 500. And Bloomberg recently reported and was able to gain a lot of information showing that the financial relationship between a lot of these companies is very, very circular. What in the turn of the millennium before the dot-com bubble popped would have been described as vendor financing, where you have the biggest one being NVIDIA, which has a market valuation of about $5 trillion. That's more than the GDPs of every country on earth, save the United States and China. And it is currently investing in OpenAI, it's investing in Oracle, it's investing in all of the companies that buy NVIDIA chips in order to run data centers. And then those companies are then reinvesting back in NVIDIA. And, I'm very sorry. So it becomes very circular. And that normally wouldn't necessarily be a big issue, except that some of the other companies in this orbit are taking on a lot of debt, mostly to build these data centers. OpenAI has recently said that they're looking to invest $1.5 trillion over the next 5 or 10 years. I don't remember the exact number. in building new data center infrastructure. Despite that, they've only said that they're projected to bring in about $20 billion in revenue in this year. And so in order to build all these data centers, they have to borrow a lot of money. And a lot of this borrowing is predicated on the success of these projects. So if any of this doesn't pan out, then all of a sudden the assets that they're borrowing on loses value. And because all of these companies invest in each other, that becomes a domino effect that'll have repercussions on the whole economy. It'll have repercussions on everybody here, everybody in the country, likely the entire world. These companies are simply that big. And so I would urge the council to please reconsider hitching our wagon to a caravan that seems intent on running itself off a cliff. Beyond that, I simply wish to reiterate my and many others' continuing and complete objection to the construction of the data center here in Hamilton. Thank you. I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. In that issue of how long of a lifetime does AI have, somebody threw some other term at me, and I don't want to talk about it now. I'm just going to say quantum ready and quantum, is that how you say that word? Yeah, quantum computing, yeah. So I'm not sure what the heck that stuff is, but when it was presented to me, like, well, if AI is no longer useful, can these data centers be what's called quantum ready? Just learned that last week. Haven't looked it up. Don't want to talk about it now. But hey, that's the kind of stuff that we hear a lot about this. Okay, that takes care of audience of citizens. Now go to the consent agenda. That includes all staff reports, all caucus reports, and meeting minutes. Before we have our caucus agenda addressed, there's going to be something called the Committee of the Whole. That's when the council considers all reports on that consent or caucus agenda. City council may ask questions or provide directions or comments on these reports that are on the caucus agenda. Now, accept the motion as the regular meeting be recessed and the Committee of the Whole take place.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Nab, second by Councilmember Pullman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, the motion is carried at 7:49. We now go into the caucus agenda, and you will lead us into that. Is that correct, Mr. City Clerk?
I will, sir. Thank you. Our first presentation will be done by our Planning Director, Ms. Lauren Nelson, for agenda items 1 and 2.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. So 2 items for you this evening. The first is related to 931 Main Street and a proposal for a conditional use from ARC Wellness. So a conditional use request was to allow a low-intensity clinic at 931 Main Street. This was presented to the Planning Commission at their December 4th meeting, and Planning Commission took action and recommended approval of this conditional use. The property here is outlined in red. It is just next to Bartell's Heating there on the side of Main Street. It is a mixed-use property with a first-floor commercial space and then a 2-story residential house behind it. And here is a picture from the street view. The red brick with that black awning is the property in question. And here on the screen is the proposed layout for this office space. It essentially is a reception area, a couple of consultation rooms, and a conference room with a kitchenette and bathrooms in the back. This space is 1,200 square feet. ARC Wellness is primarily counseling and wellness services and administrative offices. The 3 employees that are currently employed with ARC Wellness would be conducting primarily virtual appointments. 70% of their clients they see virtually, 30% are in person by appointment only. They are 15 to 60-minute appointments. There's no medication stored or dispensed on site. There's no medical procedures or treatments being performed on site. This is simply counseling services. Employees are both in office and hybrid, but there would always be staff on site for reception and interacting with patients, patient support. The proposed hours of operation are 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. There is a paved rear parking lot in the rear where the parking for customers and employees would be located that's associated with this. And there are security cameras that would be monitoring entrances in the shared spaces. There would be no after hours operations. And this application had no variance requests, so they met all of the conditional use criteria in the Hamilton zoning ordinance for a low intensity clinic. Are there any questions about this particular item? Okay, and secondly, this is a recommendation to vacate approximately 402 feet of right-of-way located on Whitway. This was before you late last year. If you recall, at that time, it was a petition to proceed with the vacation. That petition was approved by you all, so it has since now gone to Planning Commission. They heard this application, and it is now coming back to you as a recommendation to approve the vacation. On the screen, outlined in red, there is the area of Whitway that's proposed to be vacated. The reason the city is petitioning for this vacation is that it would be part of the master campus for the dual Hilton site. And I think it's better shown here in this next slide. So you can see redrawn parcels there essentially from the MLK side, where the parcels would now extend beyond Whitway, and that would all be part of that proposed hotel development. The city of Hamilton is the property owner on either side of this vacation. So in the vacation process, when the road essentially is split in half and half goes to either property owner on either side, in that case, the city is the owner on both sides. So this would all be consolidated then as part of the parking lots at High and MLK. Are there any questions for this particular item?
Thank you, Lauren.
Yes.
Next up for agenda item number 3 will be a presentation by our health director, Miss Cindy Hogg.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I am here this evening to recommend the acceptance of the Hamilton Community Foundation's Health Services Endowment Fund grant. This grant supports health services and health education to improve the overall well-being of residents in the Hamilton area. It is a reportable grant and runs from January 1 through October 31st of this year. The health department has received this award for $6,000 for our Healthy Living Initiative program. This fund will help with supplies and equipment for nutritional education, increased physical activity, and healthy living behaviors in our Hamilton community. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Health Department. Thank you, Hamilton Community Foundation. Thank you, Cindy.
And next up for agenda item number 4 will be a presentation by our law director, Miss Letitia Block.
Good evening, Mayor Moeller, members of City Council, residents of the City of Hamilton. I am here to present on a hot topic that's got lots of attention previously, that's generically referred to as golf carts. In this presentation, I will be primarily referring to these vehicles as underspeed and low-speed vehicles because that is how the law describes them. But usually when our residents are talking about them, they're talking about golf carts. So under the Ohio Revised Code, an underspeed vehicle, or a USV, is commonly known as a golf cart and is defined as a 3- or 4-wheeled vehicle that can have an attainable speed of no more than 20 miles per hour. A low-speed vehicle, or an LSV under the Ohio Revised Code, is defined as a 3- or 4-wheeled motor vehicle that has an attainable speed of more than 20 miles per hour, but no more than 25 miles per hour. So in your council packet is a draft of a proposed new chapter 348, and it's regulating underspeed and low-speed vehicles for personal use of these vehicles. So this draft ordinance factors in feedback that we have received from residents. I'm sure many of you have seen comments on social media and via other mediums to give feedback to the city of Hamilton. We also have received feedback the law department has from the police department and also from the traffic division of the engineering department. And they have been looking at this issue primarily to address issues of safety for pedestrians, issues of safety as it relates to the operators of these types of vehicles, but also other vehicles that will be on the roads. We've also received feedback from our Ordinance Review Commission, and they have been hard at work looking at this issue for several months. So this presentation will only address the personal use of underspeed and low-speed vehicles. As council is aware, we already have an ordinance on the books that regulates low-speed vehicles for commercial use. This presentation will not be addressing that. We are only talking about personal use, and as we know, we have a local company, Locomotive, that operates under that low-speed vehicle ordinance. So the purpose of this presentation is twofold. One, to share the work that staff and the Ordinance Review Commission has done related to the proposed ordinances in your packet. And then two, to share the key components of the proposed ordinance. So under the ordinance, we do define the terms of underspeed and low-speed vehicles, but it's important to note that we, under the ordinance, are generically referring to both of these types of vehicles as regulated vehicles. And what that means, practically speaking, is whether or not it's an underspeed vehicle or a low-speed vehicle, they can operate in the same places, and they will have the same types of requirements. For example, we will require the same types of safety features for those vehicles, regardless of whether it is an underspeed vehicle or a low-speed vehicle. All right, so now let's talk about where we have been on this subject. All right, so we talked about underspeed and low-speed vehicles for personal use at the September Ordinance Review Commission. I gave a presentation that talked about several different types of vehicles, but we focused in on underspeed and low-speed vehicles and the city's ability to regulate those vehicles. And at that meeting, the commission asked staff to bring back ordinances from other communities related to golf carts. And so we did that at the October Ordinance Review Commission meeting. And so we looked at ordinances for the city of Cincinnati, the city of Milford, the city of Sydney, and also the village of Russell's Point. But the commission wanted to be very thorough and continue to look at even more ordinances. And so asked to see if we could also look at ordinances for the city of Middletown and also the city of Oxford that regulate these particular vehicles. So we brought that back at the November meeting to look at additional ordinances on that subject. And so the November 2025 Ordinance Review Commission was the first commission meeting in which we had a draft ordinance presented related to underspeed and low-speed vehicles. But as I referenced previously, we've gotten lots of feedback on these vehicles, and so up until the night before the November Ordinance Review Commission, we were still getting feedback from the police department and the traffic division on this particular ordinance. And so what I conveyed at that meeting is that we would bring back another version of an ordinance to the December Ordinance Review Commission meeting. And so we did that in December and brought back a version of the ordinance that is very similar to the ordinance that is in your packet. And so we also had discussion at that particular meeting related to bridges. So, and I'm getting a little ahead of myself in terms of talking about the components of these vehicles, but one of the elements of our proposed ordinance is not to allow for these vehicles to operate on US or state routes, okay? And so we had a conversation about bridges, and one of the bridges, for example, that you could cross Blackstreet Bridge, for example, but then that would require you to then immediately drive on a US Route 127. And so there was a concern about if we don't want to allow the operation on our US or state routes, then do we really want to allow the operation on our bridges if people can't really go anywhere after they cross them? And so the version of the ordinance in your packet prohibits the operation of underspeed and low-speed vehicles over the bridges over the Great Miami River, so Blackstreet Bridge, High Main Bridge, and the Columbia Road Bridge. So that is what is in your packet. I'm going to say more about bridges in a moment, but I want to now go into the components of the ordinance and then circle back to the bridges. So I don't know what I just did, Daniel, help me out. So the first component, thank you. The first component of this draft ordinance is that it is a pilot program. And so obviously the Ordinance Review Commission, City Council, Law Department staff and other departments can always revise and amend an ordinance, right? But what doing this as a pilot program allows us to do is it mandates action on behalf of City Council. And so at the end of the 3-year period, City Council will have to do something. You can keep it as is, you can revise it, or you can delete it. And so that is kind of the reason why we decided to do a 3-year pilot program, is so that we can continue to look at it and evaluate the program to evaluate the various components of it. Okay, and so the next component that's listed on the slide, and these components are not listed to be exhaustive, so of course the ordinance has many other provisions in it, but they're intended to be operated on streets of a speed limit not greater than 25 miles per hour. Okay, and then we also have this component related to the bridges, not operating over bridges that are over the Great Miami River, U.S. routes, state routes within corporate limits. All right, no, we've gotten this question quite a bit. No operation on sidewalks. People have asked that question. So no operation on sidewalks, trails, or path, with the exception of limited governmental entities. All right, so also no occupants beyond the factory seating limits or no more than 6 persons in regulated vehicles. No possession of open containers. Operation will require a valid driver's license. You must be 16 years of age. And this is a edit that came out of the Ordinance Review Commission. Any operator under the age of 18 shall not be transporting no more than 1 passenger who is not a family member unless the operator is accompanied by a parent, guardian, or legal custodian. Something that came out of Ordinance Review Commission. Now on how are we going to regulate it, and also what is going to be the fees required. So it's going to require an inspection, and the police department will be leading that process. It will also require re-inspections every 3 years. We particularly line that up with this 3-year pilot program so that people wouldn't have to get a re-inspection during this pilot period, but would have to pay for an initial inspection. And if you don't have an inspection, you cannot operate one of your vehicles within the city of Hamilton. So that is a requirement. And the inspections are only going to be intended for those who are going to be regularly using their vehicles in the city of Hamilton. So it really is designed for our residents. Okay, this is, I'm going to make a note about this particular provision. So the next one is that these regulated vehicles may only operate at certain times. So 30 minutes after sunrise to 30 minutes after sunset. And this is something that we talked about at the Ordinance Review Commission, and I will just share with you, we have 3 members of City Council there on that commission, but the thought there was that in this initial 3-year period, we can be more restrictive than less restrictive, and if we want to, expand it at a later date, we can, but this is something that was approved by the Ordinance Review Commission as a restriction to keep in for now. Also a restriction against modifying vehicles that can travel faster than 25 miles per hour or 20 miles per hour, depending on what type of vehicle it is. Also a provision to grant special use for special events. Just a note that the violation is going to be a minor misdemeanor. Permits are required, and then the expectation is that you will obey the other traffic laws in the city. So let me go back to the point about bridges. As I mentioned earlier, we're constantly receiving feedback on this particular subject. And so as we talked internally about the bridges, there was a discussion about whether or not we want to allow underspeed and low-speed vehicles to cross the Blackstreet Bridge and the High Main Street Bridge for a limited stretch of time. That is not the version that is in your packet. But because we had that discussion about that point, we wanted to bring that to you for feedback. You don't have to say, what you think on that today, but a thought that has been floated is that we could allow vehicles to cross over to Blackstreet Bridge and the High Main Street Bridge, but then it would only be for a very limited stretch of time, and then they would have to then to cross over into the neighborhoods. And so if there is a desire of council to consider that, we would like to get that feedback so that we can edit the version that's before you. Before I take questions, let me also just talk about the timeline. So what's in your packet is a recommendation for this draft ordinance to proceed to its first reading at the January 28th council meeting, and then the second reading will be on February 11, 2026, and then it will be effective after that, so effective in March of 2026. And council can change this ordinance up until the second reading of the ordinance, and so you don't have to give me that feedback, tonight, but it would be good for us to talk on the record about what edits you may or may not want to make on this particular point. Mr. City Manager, did you want to make a note about the bridges?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Mayor, Council, one of the comments that I've consistently heard over the past month since this came out of the Ordinance Review Commission is the desire for residents, for stakeholders to be able to get these vehicles from one side of the river to the other. So what we had discussed was, is there a limited space, meaning you can cross the High Main Bridge, but then you immediately need to get back onto one of the side streets. And same thing with Blackstreet Bridge. You could come across the Blackstreet Bridge from the west side to the east side, for example. You could turn on to State Route 127, but only for that one block stretch to get from Blackstreet to Hensel Place. Then once you're in German Village, you're back in a permissible area. But again, that's a very common comment, and I think it would be wise to adopt this limited exception for these two bridges.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Vaughn.
Letitia, would you briefly address parking, where these will be parked?
So they can park, and that's one of the components. I know you are aware that we added that, so you can park in the same places you can park regular motor vehicles.
Yeah, but you cannot pull into Markham Park and just park it off in the grass.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Pullman.
Letitia, on the registration fees, I agree with that. I think it's a good safety. A lot of other towns do that, do the registration fee, but how's that going to work out? Do they have to trailer it to the Hamilton Police Department, or is this something they can make an appointment, and since they're paying a fee, that they can make an appointment that the police department would come to their house? How was that discussed?
You know, I don't want to speak on behalf of the police department. So
gonna be
we
their
can bring that information back. One of the things I didn't mention is that there will be, and we talked about this at the Ordinance Review Commission, there will be public communication on those types of details prior to the effective date of the ordinance. That's one of the things that the Ordinance Review Commission did specifically ask, is just to make sure that we do a great job of communication so people can know where these can be operated, so there's not resident confusion on this, and also no confusion about what are they to do to get their vehicles permitted in the city of Hamilton. So there'll be more information on that.
They hard to drive over there if you can't drive them until they're permitted, so. Okay, got it. Thank you.
In follow up to Eric's question, Letitia, would that registration then be evidenced on the vehicle, that there be a tag or something?
That is correct.
People have asked me, and I thought, I'll find out. So.
That is correct.
Vice Mayor Smallwood.
Would you mind to give those dates again for the first reading and second reading?
Right, so for, the first reading will be at our next council meeting, and I just exit out January 28th, I believe. And then I think it's February 11th is the second reading. And then the effective date, I think, will be March 13th.
And just to further clarify, this does not include e-bikes or e-scooters.
This does not include e-bikes and e-scooters, but I have a feeling that that will be next, because we have talked about that at the Ordinance Review Commission, talking about safety issues surrounding e-bikes, e-scooters, and other vehicles. We have talked about several types of vehicles at the Ordinance Review Commission.
Has there been any discussion about having owners sign an acknowledgement, assuming this all goes into effect and they get it inspected by our police department and everything's good to go, that they're signing an acknowledgement of this ordinance, as well as maybe given a copy of where they can operate their vehicle?
We will definitely have thorough communication on the subject so that we make our residents aware. But I'll make note of what you said about, acknowledge a receipt of the documents that we'll talk about that.
Okay, thank you.
I really like the idea of what you said, Vice Mayor, because I think they need to know, right away what they're getting themselves into. Mm-hmm. Now, for example, is insurance required?
That it is required.
I usually
It's
ask
not in my
that.
slideshow, but it is in the packet.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the tremendous amount of research that went into this, as well as discussion amongst all of our professionals in the city. I mean, this took a lot of work to get to this point. I mean, it's still a little concerned about the Main High Street Bridge. I mean, that could be kind of like a NASCAR sometimes, but other times it would be ideal. Black Street Bridge, I think, is ideal. I know there's one person out there, can't say anything now, but you're going to be talking to us at some point in time, I feel sure. I know, that's you, but you can't talk now. About the 30 minutes after sunrise, and there are some issues that I know that he's come to us before, with all the respect in the world, but thank you for getting it to this point, because now we'll have something, and it's a pilot program, and that's always subject to change, but thank you, and there's going to be other discussion, I feel sure. That's all I got to say. Anybody else?
Did council want to comment on any further about the bridges, or we want to wait till another council meeting?
Please.
Right.
Initially, the High Main Bridge is of concern, just because I believe the posted speed limit is 25 miles per hour, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
And I would be curious to know, what, have some sort of study, observational study of what the actual speed is that most people are doing over the bridge. I just worry about safety, and like Mayor Moeller said, it can be a little So I worry about having these type of vehicles over the High Main Bridge. I feel like Black Street Bridge is a little bit better because it's obviously a smaller amount of lanes. And good luck trying to get over the Black Street Bridge going over 25 miles an hour anyway.
Any other comments? This is going to be a work in progress until middle of February.
One more comment on the bridge is, I actually kind of have more concern about Black Street Bridge because of turning on 127. I think even, that's a little bit further stretch, go over there. You can at least come off the High Street Main Bridge. It is 25 miles an hour, as she stated. That's good. People are going to, unfortunately, we've run into that comment before this, people are going to speed no matter what. So we just have to hopefully get people to slow down, but at least you can dump off at Front Street. That's where you would have to dump off to the right there, or, well, either way. So, but I just feel, living on the west side, I think it would be, and I don't have a golf cart, but living on the west side, I think coming across the Black Street Bridge, even though it seems like a safer bridge, I'm concerned about 127 with golf carts. That's just getting, we're at a point right there. What's the speed limit on 127? 55? Or a 35 coming in?
35, I think.
Right, 30. Yeah. So 55 coming into town, but it's 35 there. But that's over. They're not allowed on streets over the 25, right?
Yes.
Correct. So this would be this is something that it would be an exception to.
Yeah. But they're coming across the bridge, which is 25, and as soon as it gets across the bridge, does it go back to 35?
I don't know the speed limits by heart.
Street? Okay. But regardless, I think getting on 127, my personal opinion, I think, is a little bit more dangerous because you got a little bit of a reach to get to Germantown over there. So just seems like it's further distance. But I'm okay with the High Main Bridge, but I kind of worry about Black Street getting on there.
Well, just to be clear, is the version that's in the packet that is proposed to move forward does prohibit the use over the bridges. And so staff would be looking for council to give us a different direction before the second reading of the ordinance to change that.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from council? Thank you, Letitia.
No problem.
Next up for item number 5, be a verbal presentation by our city manager, Mr. Craig Buchheit.
Thank you, Daniel. Mayor and council, this agenda item deals with the pay ranges for fire chief and assistant fire chief. And as you know, this happens in several different departments in the city where these administrative positions are outside of the bargaining unit. When bargaining unit wages rise over time, there creates compression between the bargaining unit and non-bargaining unit members. And so this this amendment will relieve some of that compression for the fire chief and the assistant fire chief. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly, for item number 6, will be a presentation by our finance director, Mr. Dave Jones.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, citizens of Hamilton. This presentation is for a lease between the city of Hamilton and Butler County for the second floor courts. Excuse me. The city plans to lease the second floor vacated by the Hamilton Municipal Courts to Butler County for use by the area courts. The initial lease term shall begin on the date of occupancy or April 1st, whichever date comes first, and it ends December 31st, 2030. The annual rent during the initial term is just over $125,000 per month, or annually, and that does include utilities. Obviously, we don't have these floors metered separately, so utilities are included. The city provides janitorial services in the common area. The county will provide it in the leased premises. Butler County shall maintain the insurance with the limits of $1 million per occurrence, $2 million in the aggregate. Butler County is responsible for general repairs and maintenance within the leased premises. There is an opportunity for a renewal beginning January 1st, 2031, and it would end the December 31st, 2035. And it would either be a 10% increase over the initial term, or it would be adjustment based on an inflation factor over the 2030 lease. So if you think about it, the feds usually shoot for a 2% inflation a year. This lease is just short of 5 years. If you do the math, 2%, 5 years, you're around the 10%. And then years 2032 through 2035, it's the lesser of a 3% increase, or the CPI. You know, I imagine you'll be, since it's the lesser of it, you know, the CPI year over year just came in at 2.6%, so you're probably going to be in about that range. Good news is we now have 4 floors that we lease. We have the 2nd floor, the 5th floor, the 6th floor, and the 7th floor, bringing in about $475,000 a year. Any questions?
Thank you. Nice.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, that concludes our presentations.
Okay, accept the motion that the committee of the whole be closed.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Fear, second by Councilmember Vaughn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that motion is carried at 8:22. I'll accept the motion that the regular meeting be reconvened.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilmember Nab, second by Councilmember Lauer. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that motion is carried at 8:23. I'm sorry about that. It's a roll call vote. Roll call vote.
Bowler?
Roll call. Yes.
Smallwood?
Yes.
Fear?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Pullman?
Yes.
Nab?
Yes.
Lauer?
Yes.
Motion adopted, 7-0.
Thank you. And I'll accept the motion at this time.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Pullman.
make a motion that with the exception of the items so noted, council receive the reports of the consent agenda and concur on the recommendations.
Second.
Councilmember Pullman, second by Councilmember Fear. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, that motion is carried at 8:23, as well as that last motion was carried at 8:23. Go to council actions pertaining to legislative items.
Mr. Mayor.
Motion. Yes.
I move that a note be made upon the minutes that each member of council was furnished a printed copy of each item of legislation prior to its being considered at this meeting.
Second.
By Councilmember Vaughn, second by Councilmember Lauer. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed here, same sign. Hearing none, that motion is carried. So that motion is carried at 8:24. Go to pending legislation. Agenda item number 7, second reading ordinance involving the multifamily apartment building at 421 Dayton Street.
An ordinance approving a preliminary and final plan development request for construction of a 4-story, 120 dwelling unit multifamily apartment building at 421 Dayton Street within the EMUPD Entertainment Mixed Use Plan Development Zoning District. Tim Dwyer for IRG Realty Advisors LLC, applicant, second reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Lauer.
I'd like to make a motion that the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lauer, second by Councilmember Nab. Any discussion or comment on this one? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Moeller?
Yes.
Smallwood?
Yes.
Fear?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Pullman?
Yes.
Nab?
Yes.
Lauer?
Yes.
Ordinance adopted, 7-0.
I think we go to agenda item number 8, second reading ordinance involving changing the zoning on locations on Harrison Avenue and Kenworth Avenue.
An ordinance amending the City of Hamilton zoning map by changing the zoning of 461 Harrison Avenue and 16 Kenworth Avenue, 17 and 21 Kenworth Avenue, and 119 and 123 Kenworth Avenue from R2 Single Family Residence Zoning District to R2A Two Family Residence Zoning District, City of Hamilton, applicant, second reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Pullman.
I'm going to make a motion that the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Councilmember Pullman, second by Councilmember Fear. Comments, discussion on this one? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Moeller?
Yes.
Pullman?
Yes.
Smallwood?
Yes.
Fear?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Nav?
Yes.
Lauer?
Yes.
Ordinance adopted, 7-0.
Found a typo, didn't you?
Okay.
I'll let it slide.
Thank you.
Go to agenda item number 9, second reading of an ordinance involving changing the zoning on certain locations of Noble Avenue and Fairview Avenue.
An ordinance amending the City of Hamilton zoning map by changing the zoning of 2345 through 2347 Noble Avenue, 2355 through 2357 Noble Avenue, and 504 through 508 Fairview Avenue from R2 Single Family Residence Zoning District to R28 Two Family Residence Zoning District, City of Hamilton applicant, second reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Vaughn.
I move the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Vaughn, second by Councilmember Lauer. Discussion on this one? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Moeller,
Yes?
Smallwood,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Pullman,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Lauer.
Yes.
Ordinance adopted, 7-0.
Now go to new legislation, agenda item number 10, first reading of an ordinance involving our replacement pages for codified ordinances.
An ordinance approving, adopting, and enacting the 2025 replacement pages to the codified ordinances of Hamilton, Ohio, 1998, and repealing matters in conflict therewith, April 28th, 2024 through July 9th, 2025, first reading.
Thank you. We go to agenda item number 11, two readings of emergency ordinance involving new classification of cybersecurity analyst classification.
An emergency ordinance amending and supplementing Schedule A of the city's classification and compensation plan as set forth in emergency ordinance number EOR 2025-12-75 adopted December 10th, 2025 to establish the new cybersecurity analyst classification position, first of two readings.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Pullman.
make a motion that the rules be suspended, said ordinance be read a second time by its title. Second.
By Councilmember Pullman, second by Councilmember Nab. Roll call vote, please.
Moeller,
Yes?
Smallwood,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Pullman,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Lauer.
Yes.
Motion adopted, 7-0.
Second reading of that emergency ordinance, please.
An emergency ordinance amending and supplementing Schedule A of the city's classification and compensation plan as set forth in emergency ordinance number EOR 2025-12-75 adopted December 10th, 2025 to establish the new cybersecurity analyst classification position, second reading.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Pullman.
I'll make a motion that the ordinance be adopted.
Second.
Councilmember Pullman, second by Councilmember Nab. Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Moeller,
Yes?
Smallwood,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Pullman,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Lauer.
Yes.
Ordinance adopted, 7-0.
And item number 12 is a resolution involving 400 High Street.
Bless you.
A resolution authorizing and directing the city manager to execute a community reinvestment area agreement with Hamilton Hospitality Incorporated related to a project at 400 High Street.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Lauer.
I'd like to make a motion that the resolution be adopted.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Lauer, second by Councilmember Fear. Discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Moeller,
Yes?
Smallwood,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Pullman,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Lauer.
Yes.
Resolution adopted, 7-0.
Agenda item number 13, which is resolution involving grant application with Ohio Department of Development. Go back to block.
A resolution authorizing and directing the filing of a grant application with the Ohio Department of Development relative to funding for the construction of 32 single-family houses as part of the Build Back the Block program, and authorizing and directing the city manager to execute any and all documents necessary to accept and receive said grant funds.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Vaughn.
I move the resolution be adopted.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Vaughn, second by Councilmember Lauer. Questions, comments on this one? Hearing none. Roll call.
Moeller,
Yes?
Smallwood,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Pullman,
Yes.
Lauer.
Yes.
Okay, did I miss anyone on that one? I think my.
No, you added.
Okay, resolution adopted, 7-0.
Thank you. Go to agenda item number 14, which is a resolution about also granting application to the Department of Development funding for repair, replacement of underground utility laterals.
A resolution authorizing and directing the filing of a grant application with the Ohio Department of Development relative to funding for the repair or replacement of underground utility laterals, gas, water, sewer, as part of the Build Back the Block program, and authorizing and directing the city manager to execute any and all documents necessary to accept and receive said grant funds.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember
I
Nab.
move the resolution be adopted.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Nab, second by Councilmember Fear. Discussion or comment on this one? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Moeller,
Yes?
Smallwood,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Pullman,
Yes.
Nab?
Yes.
Lauer?
Yes.
Resolution adopted, 7-0.
And audience and the city manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I want to provide an update to council and our residents about leaf collection. It's a matter that I've heard a great deal about from our residents across town. So we have 4 units that are equipped to collect those leaves, and they operate in 10 different routes to cover the entire city. Each one of those routes, once they complete it, that's considered a loop. They do 2 loops, and then they follow back up with a 3rd additional time based on 311 complaints or any hot spots or any areas that they are aware of. So right now we are 2 routes short of completing the 2nd loop. We'll complete that 2nd loop, and then we'll double back a 3rd time just to collect any leaves that were missed in the first 2 rounds. In 2024, those efforts were completed by the end of the year. There's a lot of dependence on when the leaves fall and the weather that happens. This year, we were hampered by early winter storms. And so those vehicles, those 4 units that we utilize, are also utilized for salting our roads and plowing. And the equipment has to be, the trucks have to be transitioned back and forth, and that takes time. Additionally, when we made that transition to treat the roads, a lot of those leaves became frozen and saturated with water. And so when we got back to collecting those, it was very hard on the equipment. We had some mechanical issues, again, frustrated our efforts. And so in order to try to make up for lost time due to the weather, mechanical issues, and the transitioning back and forth between the dual purpose vehicles, we were adding 2 hours extra a day to these crews. They're also adding an extra day. So they're adding extra hours each day, and they're adding an extra day during the week. They're adding Saturdays. I know Edwin Porter and myself, we had some conversations today with our team leaders. I'm not telling you these folks are dedicated, they're passionate, they want to get this done, they want to make our residents happy, and so they're going to add a Sunday as well in order to make up for lost time. One other thing that we are looking at is there is a new truck budgeted in the 2026 budget, so that'll help with the capacity of the equipment, and then we're looking at adding additional equipment as well. So for those who have not had their leaves picked up, what you can expect is that we're going to finish these couple routes, and then we'll be back around. If you have leaves that have not been collected, if you could add it to 311 just to make sure that we don't miss you. But we're working on it. We're going to make up for lost time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Audience City Council, Councilmember Vaughn, do you want to introduce a particular motion that's on the agenda?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So what I want to propose tonight is a special appointment to the 17 Strong Board. And 17 Strong has created a new position for a board member emeritus. And tonight I'd like to make a motion to that appointment. I move that Hamilton City Council appoint former Hamilton City Council member and one of the founding members of 17 Strong, Kathy Klink, to the 17 Strong Board as a board member emeritus appointed by Hamilton City Council per the 17 Strong bylaws.
Second that motion.
I think we all second that.
Second. So motion made by Councilmember Vaughn, seconded by Councilmember Nab, endorsed by all of us. We've got to do a roll call vote. Anyway, I'm sure there's no discussion except to compliment her and thank her.
Yeah.
I would just make one comment if I could,
Please.
please. It's really important. 17 Strong is about 10 years in now. And Kathy Klink has been a member of 17 Strong from the founding when it was Sense of Place. And there were others. I think, Tim, you were part of that. Carla was part of it early on. But I will tell you, Kathy Klink has been a very, very dedicated volunteer and member of that committee. After her time on City Council, she volunteers at everything. She's held every position with 17 Strong. Secondly, it's really important, I think, and 17 Strong does, that we maintain the history. Now, with a brand new board, it's really important to know where they came from and where they are now. The small little group of people that wanted to help our neighborhoods find their place has grown into something that's unbelievable. So I'm proud of 17 Strong because they created this position, And I think Kathy Klink is very worthy of being nominated as the first. It's a 3-year appointment. She can stay as long as she would like, and we'll have future emeritus on it. So thank you.
Great. I think we all agree with that.
Thanks, Susan.
Ditto, ditto, ditto. Roll call vote.
Moeller,
Yes.
Smallwood,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Pullman,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Lauer.
Yes.
Motion adopted, 7-0.
Anyone else on council? Well, we've got one thing, Elise. You want to put that up on the screen if you would?
Oh, yes.
Okay. These firefighters made history recently. Is that correct, Chief Eichelberger? Yes, sir. And they were all on the same tower truck. And that's, I'll tell you, not an old retired, but a retired firefighter showed that to me so proudly. I mean, he was so proud that this happened. And I know, Vice Mayor Smallwood, you posted it, if I'm not mistaken. So, hey, that's Hamilton, Ohio, kind of at its best, you know? So, definitely want to mention that. And, well, I guess I got the little podium here. Kind of sad to say goodbye to Pedals and Wicks. They were definitely pioneers in the rebirth of Main Street. But it's also kind of great to say welcome to Lynn's Freedom Cafe in Lindenwold. And it's great food, great service, great people. That's where a meeting was held involving an issue in Lindenwold. So I also got to thank you, TV Hamilton, because, you know, if anybody watched tonight, they learned a lot about issues in the community, and people getting together and talking through and hopefully finding solutions. And I think they would have learned a lot if they would have watched tonight. A lot of people did. That's all I've got. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Lauer.
I got the opportunity to go through the Build Back the Block housing units on East Avenue, and I've got to say that we've done a great job with that. The build out was great.
Ditto.
So the structure of the houses was done so well. I'm very pleased with the outcome of that. I'm looking forward to getting those houses on the market soon, and moving on to the next phase of this project. Very pleased.
Nice work.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Nab.
We have a number of students with us tonight, and for you young adults that are with us, this was kind of an historic meeting. What you witnessed tonight is not the typical city council meeting, and I hope you, as you take notes and that we come up and sign that you were here with us tonight and stuff like that, think about what we accomplished in all the neighborhoods, think about where the city was, where the city's going, what we're trying to do, and things like that. So I really appreciate you guys taking time, and I know it's part of your curriculum that you're here to visit with us and learn about what we do as a city council and things. But thanks for coming. I hope it was very beneficial for all of you.
Vice Mayor Smallwood.
Since your last city council meeting, I think there was an article in the paper where our neighbors in the city of Middletown were applauding our efforts. And I just want to echo that and thank the city administration for everything that they have done. Most definitely were well deserving of those comments. So thank you to our city administration and staff for everything that they have done to be leaders here locally.
Anyone else? Okay, Mr. City Manager, is there a request to go into executive session?
Yes, I'd also make a request that these students receive double credit for tonight since
It's a late night.
8:40.
Aye on that. We would say
Sitting
aye.
in the front row even. Good student.
I didn't see anybody fall asleep. That was pretty good.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, to consider confidential information related to marketing plans, specific business strategy, production techniques, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance, and to confer with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are subject of pending or imminent court action.
On that first request, is there a motion that the executive session is necessary to protect the interests of the applicant or the possible investment or expenditure of public funds to be made in connection with the economic development project?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Nab. You were first, right?
Perhaps.
Whatever.
Seconded by Councilmember Pullman. Excuse me, roll call vote.
That was first.
Moeller,
Yes.
Smallwood,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Pullman,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Lauer.
Yes.
Motion adopted, 7-0.
Motion is adopted at 8:41. Now is there a motion that council go in executive session for those stated purposes given by the city manager?
So moved.
Councilmember Fear, second by Councilmember Lauer. Roll call vote on that motion, please.
Moeller,
Yes.
Smallwood,
Yes.
Fear,
Yes.
Vaughn,
Yes.
Pullman,
Yes.
Nab,
Yes.
Lauer.
Yes.
Motion adopted, 7-0.
Motion is adopted at 8:41. We're going to go to executive session and we'll just come out to adjourn the meeting. No more public business this evening. Thank you.
Daniel, you're not allowed taking off that long anymore.